Good morning and welcome. It is about 9 o'clock in the morning. It's the 19th day of January 2022. It's about 55 degrees and starting to get sunny here in Ventura, California. And the whales are back migrating through the Channel Islands, so it's a good time to go to the beach and take a look at our fishy friends or mammal friends or whatever. Let's take a look at what's going on in the world of crowdfunding and Kickstarter. The following crowdfunding projects are coming to an end. So if you want to support any of these, head on down to your friendly local game store. That's S Games and Anime here in Ventura, and ask them to look into it for you. Now, I know I get a little judgy on some of these sometimes, but I want you to support companies that I think are actually contributing and not just making dreck. So, from Black Lantern Productions, we have Soul Myths, A Journey into Darkness. Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Sourcebook, the most popular pledge, is $42. It is a dark fantasy 5e project that leans into the new rules to illustrate its grim version. Leans into the new rules to illustrate its grim version. Have you... See, here's where I'm going to get judgy, so I apologize ahead of time. Have you, in fact, read the new rules regarding Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition? Because there is nothing grim and dark fantasy about the current rules, especially things like, oh, you can't really die in 5e. Yeah, I understand you wanted to make a dark fantasy role-playing game as a counter to 5e, but 5e is probably not the system you should be using if you want to do a dark fantasy, unless you've completely ripped apart 5e and are just using the basics and everything else you've rewritten, at which point it's just a D20 fantasy that uses the 5e engine. So unless you're really trying to milk that 5e name, I don't know. It sounds a little judgmental, so I apologize to Black Lantern Productions if you think I'm insulting you. The market could always use more dark fantasy. The product looks pretty good. The figures look good. It's got some nice freebies that come with a PDF, but again, you can't really use 5e and dark fantasy in the same sentence anymore unless you completely rewrite the rules for 5e. And then is it still 5e? I don't know. Moving on. From LFOSR, L.F.OSR, we have Horizon Rising. This is a system-neutral sourcebook. Most popular pledge is $25. It's a system-neutral fantasy setting that offers a world that is failing, something for the party to hack through until the end of it all, with 50 hex mechs and 100 new monsters. So it sounds like a Mork Borg type OSR game. The dark fantasy, the world is coming to an end. Your characters are a bunch of malcontents struggling against the oncoming darkness, and maybe they can find a way to prevent it, but more or not, they're just gonna, hold on to what they have until the inevitable end, which is just depressing. But hey, from Philip Reed Games, we have Mimics, an unnecessary work for use with fantasy RPGs. This is a system-neutral setting. For $3 and 3 PDFs, you get a bunch of art and stuff about mimics, the selections of worthless tools and ideas for mimics designed for most RPGs that are basically that fantasy RPG, So obviously this is tongue-in-cheek, making fun of mimics and making fun of the recent obsession with mimics and mimic porn, which apparently is now a thing in the deeper, darker depths of the hobby, or probably it was always a thing. But now it's just getting a little more attention. And, of course, the idea of the helper mimic for the, and the therapy mimic. So, yeah, apparently mimic has sort of become a joke now in the fantasy worlds because people are publishing mimic porn and talking about therapy mimics for their handy-capable characters. And, So here's Philip Reed going, haha, I'm going to make fun of you. So, yeah, that's my ones to support. From Dice Up Games, we have Adorablins. This is a Powered by the Apocalypse core rulebook. $20 is the most popular pledge. It's an all-ages game that uses cards for character creations and tracking, for events and challenges and more. The narrator draws cards to advance the story. The players say what they intend and roll to see if it works out. The characters are adorable, goblin-like creatures going on adventures. If you feel that an all-ages RPG designed for easy and with an easy set of cards to carry might be for you, take it on. This really sounds more like a card game than an RPG game, especially since it says that its recommended time is 30 minutes. So really it's a storytelling interactive card game, not really a fantasy role-playing game. Which I'm fine for kid games, and I love Flux and I love kid games, but yeah, you're trying to market it as a role-playing game, and it's just a card game. But then Alice is Missing was also basically just Werewolf, and of course it won Tabletop Role-Playing Game of the Year. So who knows? I wish you all the luck in the world, Adora Goblins. Maybe you'll become the 2022 Game of the Year. I don't know. From House Chaos Games, we have Lords of Chaos, an original system core rulebook. Most popular pledge is $35. This is an RPG original system that offers new lethal take on fantasy. So another dark, grim, post-Holocaust, lethal fantasy game. I guess that's the thing now. The following in the wake of Mork Borg being the tabletop role-playing game that it was, and it is definitely influencing the industry right now. I guess people are sort of shying away from the happy gumdrops and rainbows that 5e is becoming and really want more gritty, realistic, dark, in-depth role-playing because, gritty, realistic, dark, in-depth worlds where your actions actually matter is more chances that you're actually going to invest in the story and invest in the characters and role-play as opposed to the happy land of gumdrops and rainbows that 5e is becoming. It does seem to be the way the industry is going. From Michael Mars Gaming, we have Nativity in Black for Mork Borg. This is an adventure module, $15. And does some more Mork Borg foul tidings type role-playing, adding to the, grim, dark, end-of-the-world fantasy genre that Mork Borg seems to be creating. So, yeah. And finally, we have a convention that's looking for support. So here's your chance to help a gaming con that is struggling financially get back on its feet and get into a location somewhere. Maricopa Con 2022 is a tabletop gaming convention that usually pops up somewhere in Arizona. $75 for 2 badges, 2 ribbons, and a free 2d6. Your contributions will help them actually get the campaign into a physical location and support things like tables, paying the rent, stuff like that. So if you're in Arizona and want to support Maricopa Con 2022, check it out. That appears to be the crowdfunding news of the week. If any of these products sound like something you want to support, head on down to your friendly local game store, that's Cess Games and Anime here in Ventura, and ask them to look into it for you. If you appreciate this content, let me know. If you don't appreciate this content, let me know because I can't fix it if you don't tell me what's broken. If you think I'm a little too judgy about the Kickstarters and I should maybe slow my roll, let me know. If you appreciate that I want to sort of help you decide whether you want to spend your money on these things or not, let me know. Remember, this is as much your channel as it is mine. Help me hit 1,000 subs by August 4th. Until next time, get off my Mork Borg, you crazy kids. Blah, 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 blah. See ya.